The burden of being chosen isn't just about carrying a mission or higher purpose. It also means you'll face some of the toughest inner battles. One of the biggest? Lust. It's quiet, it's powerful, and it sneaks in when you least expect it. But here's the question. Why do people who are on a spiritual path, chasing wisdom, or living with deep purpose often find themselves struggling with one of the most primal desires known to man? It all comes down to awareness. The more self-aware you become, the more you start to notice not only your strengths, but also your weaknesses. And lust isn't just some random feeling, it's a test of self-control, of discipline, and of how committed you really are to your higher goals. For someone who's on a mission, the struggle isn't just about avoiding temptation. It's an internal tug of war, a pull between everything you're striving to become and the raw urges trying to distract you. And let's be honest, most people on this path, they're thinkers, they're seekers, they're deep. They see through illusions, they understand how shallow material pleasure can be. But here's the twist. That kind of clarity brings a different kind of battle. You're more sensitive to the very things you want to overcome. You feel the pull even more. Lust, in this sense, isn't just physical, it's energetic. It's a temptation that pulls your focus away from the mission, from the vision you're trying to stay loyal to. Philosophers, monks, and spiritual teachers have talked about this for centuries. They've warned that when you give in too quickly to bodily desires, you start to lose clarity, you lose that edge. What's forbidden becomes magnetic. That's a real psychological effect. The moment something feels out of bounds, it becomes 10 times harder to ignore. And for chosen ones, people walking a higher path, that desire becomes even stronger. Not because they're weaker, but because they're more aware. They know what they're up against. And when you try to suppress it, when you try to act like it's not there, it grows. It festers in the background. Look through history and you'll see it again and again. Saints, religious leaders, scholars, they've all written about this silent war. The more they tried to fight it, the more it fought back. And that's the key. It's not just physical, it's psychological, it's spiritual. It shows up in dreams, in thoughts, in urges that feel like they come out of nowhere. The more you resist something without understanding it, the more it owns you. Now add this. Most chosen ones walk alone. Whether it's the spiritual path, the intellectual path, or simply choosing to live with purpose, it sets you apart. And with that isolation comes a deeper hunger for connection. Not just sexual, but emotional, spiritual, even intellectual. So now lust isn't just desire, it's a cry for closeness, a longing to feel something real in a world that feels distant. This is where the real test happens. You're pulled between your ideals and your humanity. You want to rise above, but your body still craves. And the goal isn't to destroy that craving, it's to master it. Not to deny it exists, but to learn how to channel it. Some have turned this energy into creativity, into spiritual strength, into intellectual fire. But that doesn't mean the temptation disappears. It lingers, waiting, testing. It's not just about saying no. It's about knowing why you're saying it and what you're saying yes to instead. But many chosen ones suffer in silence. They don't talk about it. Why? Because society expects them to be above all of this, to be perfect, to be untouched by desire. And that creates shame. Now, they're not just fighting lust, they're fighting the guilt of having it in the first place. But this struggle isn't proof you've failed. It's proof you're on the path. It's proof you're aware. And that awareness, that's the beginning of mastery. In this first part, we've talked about awareness, isolation, the body versus the spirit, and why lust becomes such a fierce opponent for the chosen. In the next part, we're going even deeper, into the psychological traps, the way society puts chosen ones on a pedestal, and the hidden war inside that very few talk about. Let's go deeper. Chosen ones often get put on a pedestal. Whether they're spiritual guides, thinkers, creatives, or leaders, they're seen as examples, beacons of strength, clarity, and self-control. But that spotlight, it comes with a weight that most people never feel. The world expects them to be immune to temptation. People think, you're wise, you've evolved, you shouldn't struggle like the rest of us. But that belief creates a dangerous illusion, because the truth is, temptation doesn't disappear when you become more aware. It just becomes more subtle, more complex. When someone tries to bury their desires, they don't die. They just go underground. And that's where they grow even stronger. hidden in the dark corners of the mind. This is why so many highly respected figures, people who were seen as pure, disciplined, even holy, ended up falling. The world judges their fall harshly, but rarely asks, what kind of pressure were they under in the first place? Suppressing desire without understanding it creates an inner rebellion. The more you try to act like you're not human, the more your human nature pushes back. Now, layer this with another factor: power. Most chosen ones don't chase power, but it finds them. Their insight, their energy, their depth, it draws people in. People admire them, want to be around them, want to be led by them. And with that admiration comes attention. And with that attention comes temptation. The ability to influence, to inspire, to lead. It's magnetic. And that kind of energy is attractive, sometimes unintentionally. But when you're surrounded by admiration, praise, and people who look up to you, there's a silent danger, because admiration can quickly shift into something more intimate, more seductive. And if the chosen one isn't grounded, that shift can become a trap. Not because they're bad, but because they didn't expect it. They thought they were beyond it, that they'd outgrown those struggles. But no one outgrows temptation. They just learn how to deal with it differently. That's why so many who walk the path of wisdom are blindsided by their own influence. They weren't prepared for the way others would be drawn to them, or how that attention would stir something inside them, something they thought they left behind. And for those who believe in spiritual warfare, the temptation of lust isn't just a psychological test, it's a spiritual one. Mystics, monks, sages, they've talked about temptation not just as urges, but as forces, energies, even spiritual entities that test your will as you get closer to enlightenment. Whether you see that literally or metaphorically, the core idea stands. The higher you go, the more resistance you meet. The more light you carry, the more shadows show up to challenge it. But here's the key. This isn't a battle you win through fear. You don't overcome lust by being scared of it. You overcome it by understanding what it is, how it works, and where it gets its power. Because for the chosen one, lust is never just a moment of weakness. It's a long game, a quiet war between who they are and who they're becoming. And that war doesn't end with one decision. It shows up over and over when they're alone, when they're tired, when they feel misunderstood, when admiration feels like affection. Now, let's talk about the most dangerous twist, the forbidden fruit effect. It's real. The moment you label something as off limits, your mind fixates on it. It becomes more tempting, not because it's valuable, but because it's rare, unreachable, or forbidden. Chosen ones often want to live pure, focused lives. They pursue discipline. They aim for clarity. So when lust shows up, they try to shut it down completely. But that creates pressure. Suppressing desire doesn't delete it, it magnifies it. And they may not even realize it, but by constantly resisting, they're actually making the desire more powerful. Now it starts showing up in thoughts, in dreams, in subtle cravings. It hides in the background, waiting for the right moment. That's why so many highly disciplined people eventually give in so dramatically. Because they've spent so long denying that side of themselves, they've never learned how to handle it. But suppression isn't the answer. Mastery is. And mastery begins with one thing: awareness. You can't beat what you're afraid to look at. Some spiritual traditions believe this struggle goes beyond this life. They say that if you're drawn to certain desires, it may be because your soul has unresolved lessons from the past. That these temptations aren't just random. They're part of your spiritual curriculum. They're here to teach you. For chosen ones, often called old souls, this hits deeply. They may feel like no matter how much progress they make, some struggles just won't leave. But that doesn't mean they're failing. It means there's a deeper lesson they haven't faced head on. And until they face it, it'll keep coming back. But not as punishment. As a message, that lust isn't just a temptation. It's energy. Raw, powerful, untamed energy. And like any energy, it can destroy you, or it can elevate you. Look at history. Some of the greatest minds, artists, visionaries, they didn't run from this energy. They transformed it. They took that deep primal pull and turned it into something timeless. Poetry, article philosophy, spiritual awakening. They didn't try to erase lust. They redirected it. This idea is ancient. Alchemy, Tantra, Taoism, All of them speak about this: sexual transmutation. Taking that same force and turning it into something that feeds your purpose instead of draining it. Chosen ones have to learn this too. Not to run from it, not to drown in it, but to rise above it by using it. But here's the challenge. Many chosen ones feel deeply alone. Their path often separates them from the crowd. And that separation creates a vacuum, a quiet kind of loneliness that gnaws at them. That's when lust creeps in. It offers an escape, a way to feel close to someone, even if only for a moment. And even the most spiritual, most grounded people, when they're feeling isolated, can start to crave that physical or emotional connection. But here's the truth. Lust isn't really offering connection. It's offering a distraction. It's pretending to fill the void. But once the moment is over, that emptiness, it's still there. Chosen ones need to recognize this, to see through the illusion. Because true fulfillment doesn't come from chasing urges. It comes from aligning with something deeper, a mission, a purpose, a real connection that feeds the soul. This is the core of the struggle, mastery or slavery. You either master your desires or they master you. That's the choice. And the path to mastery? It's not black or white. It's not indulgence or denial. It's understanding. Lust is not evil. It's not some curse. It's energy. If you ignore it, it grows. If you give into it mindlessly, it controls you. But if you understand it, you can direct it. You can use it to build, to create, to deepen your purpose. And that's the secret. Once you know how to handle that energy, once you stop fearing it and start transforming it, you become unstoppable. You stop running from your own nature. You stop being ashamed of your urges. You see them for what they are, a powerful part of your humanity that's meant to be guided, not suppressed. And this battle, it's been going on forever. Lust has shaped stories, empires, art, religion. It's not just a personal struggle, it's a universal one. But for those who are chosen, for those walking the higher path, it's also a spiritual test. It's not about being perfect. It's not about being untouched by desire. It's about understanding that desire is part of you, but it doesn't define you. That's what freedom looks like. Discipline isn't about saying no to everything. It's about knowing what's worth saying yes to. Suppressing your desires doesn't set you free. Mastering them does, channeling them into something meaningful, letting them shape you, but never letting them rule you. And that final step? Acceptance. Not judgment, not guilt. Acceptance. You're human. You will feel, you will crave. But that's not weakness, that's part of the journey. What matters is what you do with it. You are more than your urges, more than your battles. You are not your struggle. You are the strength it's building in you. And when you finally see that, lust loses its grip. It becomes just another part of your story, a force you can guide, a fire you can use. Master your desires, and you master yourself. Master yourself, and nothing, not lust, not loneliness, not temptation, can stand in your way. If this message hit home, if it made you reflect, then like, subscribe, and share it with someone else walking this path. There are chosen ones out there battling in silence, looking for this exact truth. You've got it now. Let's help them find it too.